What happens when you don't use parchment paper on your sourdough bread? You actually might turn out a very beautiful loaf of bread that doesn't have toxins, melted plastic, silicone, particles on it, or insert miscellaneous chemical. A couple months ago, I thought it would be fun to just Kelly rant on a Saturday morning, showing my oven and my pot and how I do not use parchment paper in my sourdough. I put a funny little contrarian belief on the reel, and I said that my POV is that I can't stand parchment paper or silicone in the pot because it doesn't need to be there for most breads. I use a coated cast iron Dutch oven, which does give me some advantages. So if you use a non-coated cast iron, I was going to grab something here for affect. This may not apply to you. Now, I am not one of these crazy wild people that is an extremist and that's saying toxin this, non-toxin that. You know the grifters, you know what I'm talking about. However, I am someone that, even though my eyes aren't the best in my older years, can read oven safe until 428 degrees. And that's actually one of the highest ones that I can find in the grocery store. Most are 400 or 425. I have messaged a company and I asked them, what happens if you bake your parchment paper above 400 or 420 degrees, 25 degrees, depending which product it was? And it had to get escalated to management, in which I got a very curated response that said the paper breaks down and is not safe above the recommended guidelines on the pack. So I ask you, why is every sourdough recipe using parchment paper? Can we not read? Has nobody asked this question, or do we just not care? I've seen videos on this. I'm not the only person saying this. However, my rant that went crazy saying, what happens when you don't use parchment paper on your sourdough? And I showed a beautiful, easy released, golden brown, toasty, glorious, yummy sourdough. It was one of my best loaves. It was a off the cuff rant and it went super viral. A lot of the comments asked, well, how did you do that? Okay, so in the comments, I shared different ways. Couple tips. I like to cold proof my dough. It creates a crust, if you will, a hardened little layer at the top of the basket once it's in the fridge. So that top is then the bottom when I bake it, giving an easier release. I also use rice flour. You could use rice kernels, you could use cornmeal. A lot of people have said that. Third, I use a enameled, is that proper? Enameled cast iron pot. If you're using an uncoated Dutch oven, it may stick. I don't have a solution at this time. I don't have an uncoated pot. This is what I use. So I ask you, what would happen if you didn't add it in? What would happen if you read the package? What would happen if you just tried something different? And do you even care? Because you may not. And that's perfectly fine. But to a lot of people, their eyes are opened and they're wondering why recipes say to bake for 45 minutes at 450 degrees with paper that is not recommended, that is not tested. There's reasons it's not recommended. So deduce your own findings. What I do want to say to the sourdough community is you're doing this mostly for gut health, mostly for better bread in your family's life, mostly because you want better options. So then when you rip off a piece of the bread, flour, paper, when you rip off a piece of this paper and you're putting it underneath this glorious bread that took you probably a day, 2, 3 days to make. And at these temperatures, it breaks down into who knows what. We don't know. I mean, I'm not a science geek. Maybe some of you will know and you'll tell me in the comments, or you'll tell me how non-toxic is a buzzword. I've heard it all. I've heard it all in the comments over on Instagram. I just ask you to question what you're using, think it through, and try and experiment. And if you want to join me in the no parchment paper mission for sourdough, if you want to use it on 375 where it's rated, fine. If you want to bake your bread at a different temperature, probably won't work. Bread needs hot. Use it. Use it for other things, muffin liners, whatever you want. But think about what you're putting in. Sometimes it's not about what you add in, it's what you need to remove for the best results. So for this, sourdough friends, please remove the paper. And if you're using an ooey gooey mess of a loaf, with those cheesy or sugary add-ins, maybe chocolate chips, I would challenge you to try it without the paper once or twice. A good wooden spatula and a good maybe 30 minutes in releases it every time I've tried it. But if you think there's going to be a mess, go ahead, use it. It's better than scrubbing or staining a pot. My pot does have stains in it. Usually I then make soup and it'll take all the bits off. However, the last couple times that I've made my double chocolate bread, it didn't stick, but it definitely left some melted spots. I think that's what it's from. I don't think it was from the beef stew and the beef sticking. Either way, this pot is not as bright and white as it was in this video. So, where are you at with it? Can I challenge you to try it? Do you want to make sourdough with me? If you do, please comment below. I'll check out the links below, whatever you want. There's ways to work with me. I have a sourdough booklet. You don't have to be on your device when you're looking to bake your bread. You can actually do it the old-fashioned analog way. If you want to follow along for more videos, I show you a couple things that I've done with rice flour, how I've made mistakes by adding it to the dough too early, adding it at different stages. And I also show you a couple different recipes. Granted, I am not the sourdough queen. I do it so that it's nervous system regulating, it's calm, it's good for my gut, it's fun, and it's something that I can do in a couple days for me and for my family. I love bread, like love bread. So this makes it fun. Follow along for more. Give me a subscribe. This is where I talk about putting your food first. Your bread, your whole foods, learning how to build highly nutrient dense foods. Most of the time, I live by the 80-20 rule. I'm not an extremist, but I'm definitely not eating fake food all the time or using paper that could chemically change by the time it gets to the temperature the bread should be at. Now, don't even get me started on silicone. That's a whole nother rant for a whole nother video. I'll see you then. Now, what am I going to do with this? My cats are probably super scared. They hate this sound. And that's a wrap. We're going to do this in one take. Ready? 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 Ready, steady, go. It's a good song.